The FA Cup match between Manchester United and Fulham this past weekend, at first glance, looked like nothing special. 3-1 victory, the big team advances, okay. Oh, wait a minute here. There were 2 red cards in this. Okay, I'm intrigued. My eyebrows are raised like Ancelotti, and then you dig a little deeper, and you find out that in fact, there were 3 red cards given in this game, but one of them doesn't even appear on the stats. What the fuck happened here? And if you missed this match in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, I can understand, because as I said, the result came out as expected. But it is how we got there that was something strange, something that I had never seen before, and probably will never see again on a professional football pitch. And that something was pure insanity. But we'll all get to that in a second, because first, let me introduce you to the characters. Let's talk about Fulham. And this team, by every metric, has been outperforming themselves this season. Call it luck or call it skill. The newly promoted side was projected to be relegated at the start of the year. But with 10 matches to go, they sitting in 9th above fucking spend $60 million on players Chelsea. And their stadium is better than Chelsea's too. I mean, come on, look at this. It actually has character. Well, Stamford Bridge looks like a public library. Fulham were just having a fantastic season by their standards. And their mercurial manager, Marco Silva, who's had his ups and downs in his career, finally has seemingly settled in to a club. He steered Fulham out of the championship and into promotion last year, and a big part of why they got promoted was their titanic striker, Alexander Mitrovic, who was just an absurdity in the lower division, shattering records with 43 goals last year, and he could do it in the Prem, as he was just on fire at the start of the year. But then something funny happened. The year changed, and in 2023, Alexander Mitrovic hasn't scored a single goal. Yes, he's been on a duck for nearly 3 months. But still, it's been a fantastic season for the Prem. There's zero risk of them being relegated. And here they are, in the quarterfinal of the FA Cup. These boys were playing with house money. But then on the other side, you have the old giant, Manchester United, who a year ago had the worst season ever in Premier League history. But under new manager Erik ten Hag, they have had a miraculous turnaround this year. And probably the most insane thing about this turnaround is it's mostly the same players from a year ago. Ten Hag turned Marcus Rashford to the deadliest player on the planet at the moment, not named Erling Haaland. And the players that he has brought in have been instrumental to this resurgent season. He brought in Casemiro, and he's looked like the best defensive midfielder in the world this year. But he wouldn't be playing this game because he's serving a 3-match ban because of a red card. For the second time this year. God damn it. So with that, the odds were slightly evened out. But the big matchup that everyone was looking forward to would be on the short shoulders of another transfer and a personal favorite of Ten Hag from his time over at Ajax. Yes, I'm talking about the diminutive center back, Lisandro Martinez. The Argentine stands at a mere 5'8", and he would be given the Herculean task of marking the 6'2" Alexander Mitrovic. And in the air, my God, Lisandro could probably use his hands and still not get as high as Mitro. And if you are unfamiliar with Mitrovic's game, I think the most accurate way of describing his heading is that he f***s hard. But Lisandro Martinez is nicknamed the Butcher for a reason, because he gives zero fucks. And he combines that aggressive nature with wily instincts, reading the game and timing tackles to a near world-class level. And with the stage set, there was no doubt that this would be the matchup that would decide the match. The Butcher versus the Titan. Pretty much Levi versus the Ape Titan from AOT. But before we get into the match, much like FIFA, I gotta pay some bills. Hey guys, it's your number one fat Asian. As you can see, I'm not so fat anymore. And I tried a lot of diets, I tried a lot of workouts, but the only thing that helped me lose the weight and keep it off was keto, low carb, which is why I love Factor meal plans. Factor makes meeting your nutrition goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, healthy meals, smoothies, and juices right to your doorstep. And I don't know if you've noticed this about the channel, but it used to be only 1 video a month. Now, we're up to 4. And part of that is actually due to Factor. And I'm not even kidding you, it's just made my life more efficient. I just pop a few holes in that bitch, microwave it for 2 minutes, and I'm eating. And I know with every meal, it's gonna be a perfect portion size, the macro is gonna be on point, and it's gonna taste bomb as fuck. And it just frees up all this time and energy that I can go ahead and put toward the channel, while simultaneously helping out with my health goals. I don't need to think, I just get to fuel up. Decision fatigue is real, people. Plus I know myself, if I didn't have Factor, I'd be wasting so much money on Uber Eats. And come on, dog. You know that $27 for some Mickey D's is not the move. So head over to factor75.com or click on the link on the top of the description and use code BMOnus to get 50% off your first box. Once again, that is factor75.com and use the code BMOnus for 50% off. Just get a box. Try it out. Do yourself a favor and see for yourself if it doesn't free up a little bit of time to do the thing that you've been meaning to do. You know the thing. So once again, thanks to Factor for sponsoring this video. Now, back to the show. So now with the stage set, these two teams would meet at Old Trafford, with the hosts being heavy favorites. But then Manchester United started the way they've been starting for the last 2 months, honestly. Sluggish and looking vulnerable. Fulham actually had the lion's share of attacks and pretty much gave up not even half chances to Man United. Possession was practically 50-50, but the one bright spot that Man United could claim was that their diminutive center back, Lisandro Martinez, was actually doing a pretty good job versus the Titanic Serb. He was just playing him smart, showing good awareness and enough strength to shield the ball away from the big striker. He wasn't being overpowered, and he almost had a spider sense, knowing exactly when to dive in and poke the ball away. Basically, he was just annoying as shit, getting under the skin of Mitrovic every opportunity he could. And then a flashpoint happened in the 24th minute that I need you guys all to remember. Harrison Reed would spin out of a challenge and then attempt to thread a ball into big ol' Mitro, who would get tangled up with Lisandro, and both would go down in the box. A large roar from the crowd went up, and Old Trafford collectively held their breaths. And upon instant replay, it would show that actually Lisandro Martinez was ahead of the Serb, but Mitro stuck his foot in front of the Argentine from behind, and the contact was minimal, but the big Serb went down like a sack of bricks. Especially in slow-mo, it looked more like incidental contact, but obviously, Fulham didn't see it that way. Especially their manager, Marco Silva, who on a cutaway could be seen looking a little bit perturbed and giving his mind to the fourth official. There was a long pause in the game at this point, as Harrison Reed had gone down with some type of knock, but thankfully for Manchester United, there was no call to look at VAR. So the half would continue, with much more of the same, cagey, but with Fulham asking the more dangerous questions. Still, we would go into the half 0-0. Now what you need to know is that typically, the second half is where Manchester United makes its money. Erik ten Hag has just had the Midas touch when it's come to second half substitutions, and sure enough, Anthony comes on for Scott McTominay. But it didn't energize the squad. In fact, it just looked more of the same, with Willian absolutely terrorizing that left flank, forcing 2 great saves out of David De Gea. And then a corner in the 49th minute to see the ball fortuitously bounce into the path of big ol' Mitro, who swept it home to find his first goal since the turn of the new year. Fulham had fucking done it. They had bite, they had scratched, they had clawed their way to a 1-0 lead. And honestly, they were dominating the game. They absolutely deserved this. And this would be the time that you thought Manchester United would spring to life. But even after this goal, it was all Fulham. They knew the game plan now. Keep on smothering Man United and keep targeting big-ass Mitro up against pint-sized Lisandro Martinez. And Mitro didn't mind at all, putting multiple headers on target, including this beaut that David De Gea barely clawed away from his net. It wasn't looking good for Man United. The changes that usually work magic had done nothing. Ten Hag, who you could typically see on the sideline, steely and calm, could only shake his head. And he looked uncharacteristically nervous. But then, in the 69th minute, a cataclysmic sequence of events would set off a chain reaction that would result in maybe the most ludicrous 90 seconds of football I have ever witnessed. But let's begin with the inciting action. Off of a Fulham corner, Man United would finally catch Fulham napping, as a lucky bounce found Bruno Fernandes, who picked up his head, saw a streaking Anthony down the wing. And with that, he flicked the ball right into his path, releasing the Brazilian on the right flank and with no one in front of him. And to make things even sweeter, Jadon Sancho joined him centrally and was ahead of his marker, effectively making a 2-on-1 counter. And Brazilian made the right move, a perfect pass, sliding Sancho in on net, took the ball and rounded the keeper, sat a defender down, and with the net gaping wide open, put a shot on target. Only for Willian to track all the way back and deflect the shot wide of the post with his body. And this all happened in an instant, a miraculous clearance. And 5 years ago, this call would have stood as a masterful defensive effort. But we are now in the age of VAR, and with the Man United players appealing for handball, this was at least going to get a lookie at from upstairs. And when we did have that lookie, the replay showed that Willian had used his arm to make himself bigger and strike the ball off target before tucking it completely within his body. Naughty, clever, but unfortunately, you got caught in 4K. Not only was it a handball in the box, but it was a clear denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. My man was in trouble, and he knew it. And with players from both sides pleading their cases, the call came in. Ref Kavanaugh would do the infamous VAR check hand motion and jogged over to the monitor. And this was when things just started going haywire. Because before he could even really start examining the footage, he's maybe in front of the monitor for 2 to 3 seconds, and he just hears something from the Fulham manager that apparently is so outrageous that it makes Kavanaugh reach into his pocket and pull out a red card, sending Fulham manager Marco Silva to the stands. Now, I want everyone to note that this occurs at 71 minutes and 11 seconds. Remember that, because not even 20 seconds go by, and Kavanaugh had seen enough on the monitor. A replay then comes on, and it shows that seconds after Kavanaugh had given Willian the red card, Mitro was profusely giving the ref a piece of his mind right in his ear. And when Kavanaugh ignored him, and in fact just walked past him, Mitro doesn't like that. And he gives him a full-on forearm shove. And yeah, you can't do that, buddy. The ref looks at Mitro, almost aghast. Shocked even. And then the inevitable. He reaches into his pocket and shows Mitro a red. And now Mitro is just chest to chest, finger right in the face of Kavanaugh, screaming at him. And if we sync up all the footage, Mitrovic gets his red at about the 71 and 50 second mark. That is 3 red cards in the span of less than a minute. In fact, it's almost closer to 3 red cards in half of a minute. Just an absurd comedy of events. From being up 1-0 and completely controlling the game, to now, in the space of 40 seconds, to lose your best winger, your best striker, and your manager is just hilarious. And there were just so many points in this sequence of events where things could have calmed down. If we look at this replay, Willian could simply have not used his arm. He might have even had a chance to deflect it legally. But let's say he gets sent off. From that point on, if you're Marco Silva, you don't need to be yelling at the ref, because there's a slight chance Man United might still miss the pen. They haven't been playing well this entire game. But then Marco Silva goes ahead and sets the tone for his team by getting himself sent off. And that only is going to be riling up Mitro, who's not the calmest character already. He's been nibbled at by the butcher all game long. They've been winding him up. And remember, he didn't get the pen call checked for him. And then he sees his manager get sent off. So when the red card comes in for Willian and the penalty is called for Man United, he just sees red. He loses it. And that's when he shoves the ref. And in that moment, he doomed his team. Because holding on to a tie or even possibly a 1-goal lead with 10 men and 20 minutes to go is doable. And maybe you have to replay the match, but at least you'll have all 11 men again. But when it's 9 men against 11, nah, brah, it's over. And Bruno Fernandes would slot the penalty home. Not even 2 minutes later, Man United would march down the field and take the lead from a clever back heel through Sabitzer. I cannot stress again that this game went from complete control, 1 goal up, to down 2-1 and 3 red cards in the span of 5 minutes. You could have gone and taken a piss in the overflowing urinals at Old Trafford and gotten back and been absolutely confused. And no one will blame you. I have not seen a collapse this fast since the FTX scandal. And yeah, this is just one for the history books. Less than a minute of complete madness. I'll be honest, absolutely loved it. This is why I watched the beautiful game, guys. Oh, so beautiful. The game would trickle on before Bruno Fernandes put in a late dagger to make it 3-1. And the rest is history. Man United would move on to the next round. But hey, they're the B story here. Let's get to the juicy bits. On the Fulham side, Marco Silva will go ahead and be banned for 3 matches, justified his actions by saying that he was protesting the fact that earlier, the possible penalty on Mitrovic was completely ignored, while Willian's goal-scoring denial was put under a microscope. And to him, that was a clear double standard. But there's actually an extra layer of spice here, because there is beef between this ref, Chris Kavanaugh, and Marco Silva. As early in the season, 2 missed handball calls cost Fulham a win away at West Ham. So it wasn't just a match. This has been months building up. There's bad blood between these two. And he had had enough. He lost his shit. And I can probably guarantee, from now on, Marco Silva, Chris Kavanaugh, mortal enemies. You'll love to see it. Now, the irony here is that after, Marco Silva also said that Mitrovic should have controlled his emotions. I mean, that's just hilarious. How could you say that when literally seconds before you got sent off for not controlling your emotions? If anything, you being sent off riled up Mitrovic even more. But the big discourse in the footy sphere has moved on to how long Mitrovic should be banned for. Because I think it's fair to say that the usual 3-match ban would probably be a little bit too light for this offense. In fact, many ex-referees were calling for a 10-match ban. Their justification, along with many pundits and talking heads, is that kids and Sunday League players would go ahead and see this, and if Mitrovic gets away with this, you would see similar actions just popping up at the grassroots level. And the typical 3-match ban would simply not deter, I guess, assholes from being assholes? Some refs have even gone as far as saying that Mitrovic should receive the same ban that Eric Cantona got way back in the day for attacking fans at Crystal Palace. Which is no, because, like, for reference, this is what Eric Cantona did.
Oh, this is outrageous.
And Cantona was banned for 9 months. Compare that to what Mitrovic did, and yeah, not quite equivalent exchange here. And I get it, some have labeled this a violent assault on a ref. And you don't want to see a player get physical with the ref, but to call it a violent assault, and then you see what Marion Fellaini used to get away with, even in the age of VAR. And come on, dog. Come on. A 10-match ban, especially with only 10 matches left in the Premier League to go, would be absolutely brutal to Fulham. And I get it, you need to set an example here, but to say that we should permaban Mitro just to save the kids, it gives me these kind of vibes.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
Personally, I think a 5-match ban is probably fair. He lost it. He saw red, he shoved the ref, he got a red, and we all got to witness 3 red cards in the span of 40 seconds. And that was glorious. Possibly history. So for that, I say 4-match ban. But hey, that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this breakdown, go ahead, smush a hard erect nipple into the like button right now. And yes, as always, I'd like to go ahead and thank all my patrons, keeping me alive and well. And a special shout out to my newest patron, What Kid. Thank you for joining the $1 Army. That's going to be it for me. Until next time, boys. America.